Hidden beneath the dense jungles of Central America lies the remains of one of the most extraordinary civilizations in human history. Towering stone pyramids rise above the forest canopy. Ancient temples stand silent under layers of vines and moss. Entire cities, once filled with tens of thousands of people, now sit abandoned in the wilderness. These ruins belong to the Maya civilization, a culture so advanced that even today, archaeologists continue to uncover new secrets about how they lived and why they suddenly vanished. More than 2,000 years ago, the Maya built a vast network of powerful city-states across the tropical forests of what is now Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, and Honduras. Unlike many ancient empires, the Maya did not have a single capital city. Instead, their world was made up of powerful urban centers, each ruled by its own king, its own nobles, and its own powerful traditions. Cities like Tikal rose above the jungle with enormous stone pyramids that dominated the landscape. At its height, Tikal was one of the largest cities in the ancient Americas. Its temples climbed hundreds of feet into the sky, its plazas filled with priests, merchants, warriors, and farmers. Nearby, another famous city, Chichen Itza, became one of the most powerful cultural centers in the region. Here, Maya architects built massive pyramids aligned with the movements of the sun. During certain days of the year, sunlight would create the illusion of a serpent slithering down the temple's staircase. A breathtaking demonstration of the Maya's deep knowledge of astronomy. Because the Maya were not simply builders. They were scientists, astronomers, mathematicians. Long before the arrival of Europeans in the Americas, Maya scholars had developed an advanced writing system capable of recording complex historical events. They used a vast 20 mathematical system, and they were among the first civilizations in the world to develop a concept of zero. Their astronomers carefully tracked the movements of celestial bodies across the sky. They calculated solar and lunar cycles with astonishing precision, and their calendar systems were so accurate that modern researchers are still impressed by their complexity. But the Maya were also masters of architecture and engineering. Deep in the middle of thick tropical forests far from major rivers, they built enormous cities capable of supporting huge populations. They constructed reservoirs to store water during dry seasons. They engineered terraces and agricultural systems to grow crops in challenging environments. At their peak, millions of people lived across the Maya world. For centuries, the civilization flourished. Kings commissioned towering temples. Artists carved elaborate stone monuments celebrating royal victories. Trade networks stretched across Mesoamerica, bringing jade, obsidian, cacao, and exotic feathers from distant lands. But then, something changed. Beginning around the late 8th century, signs of trouble began appearing across the Maya world. Construction of new monuments slowed dramatically. Royal inscriptions that once recorded the deeds of powerful kings suddenly stopped. Some cities began losing population. Others were abandoned entirely. Within just a few generations, many of the greatest Maya cities fell silent. The towering temples of Tikal were left empty. Plazas that once held thousands of people became overgrown with vegetation. Entire urban centers disappeared beneath the jungle. To modern archaeologists, the evidence is deeply puzzling because there are no clear signs of a massive invasion, no evidence of a single catastrophic disaster, no indication that the Maya suddenly forgot how to build their magnificent cities. Instead, the collapse appears to have unfolded slowly. One city after another began to weaken. Populations moved away, trade routes broke down, and eventually, The powerful network of Maya city-states fragmented. Historians call this event the classic Maya collapse. It remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in the history of human civilization. How could a society so advanced, so intelligent, so deeply connected to science, architecture, and astronomy simply unravel? Did environmental disasters push the civilization to the brink? Did warfare between rival cities spiral out of control? Or did the Maya themselves unknowingly create the conditions that led to their own collapse? For decades, researchers searched for answers buried beneath the jungle floor. And now, thanks to modern technology, scientists are beginning to uncover new clues hidden beneath the dense forests of Central America. Clues that may finally reveal what happened to the Maya civilization. But the deeper archaeologists investigate, the more complicated and more unsettling the story becomes. For centuries, the disappearance of the Maya civilization puzzled historians. Ancient cities had been swallowed by the jungle. Their temples stood silent, their plazas empty. But the real clues to what happened were not hidden inside the pyramids. They were hidden beneath the forest itself. In recent years, scientists began using a revolutionary technology called LiDAR. Instead of cutting through the jungle with machetes, researchers used laser scanners mounted on aircraft to map the land below the thick forest canopy. What they discovered completely transformed our understanding of the Maya world. Beneath the jungle were not just a few scattered ruins. There were thousands of structures, entire cities connected by massive highways, terraced farmland stretching for miles, defensive walls surrounding major urban centers. In some regions, archaeologists discovered evidence that millions of people once lived in areas previously believed to be sparsely populated. Cities like Tikal and Karakol were far larger and more complex than researchers had ever imagined. This discovery revealed something important. The Maya civilization was not a small collection of isolated settlements. It was a vast and highly interconnected urban network. But that discovery also raised a troubling possibility. If millions of people were living across the Maya world, they would have required enormous amounts of food and water. Supporting such a large population deep inside tropical forests would have been an enormous challenge. And as scientists began studying ancient soil samples, they discovered signs that the environment may have been under intense pressure. Pollen records taken from ancient lake beds revealed that large areas of forest had been cleared for agriculture. Trees were cut down to create farmland. Wood was burned to produce lime plaster used in Maya architecture. Over time, the natural landscape may have been dramatically altered by human activity, but deforestation may have created an even greater problem. Without dense forests to regulate moisture, the region became more vulnerable to drought, and drought, in a civilization heavily dependent on seasonal rainfall, could be catastrophic. Lake sediment studies conducted across Central America began revealing something startling. During the exact time period when many Maya cities were abandoned, the region experienced several prolonged droughts. Some of these droughts lasted decades. In a society that relied on stored rainwater and seasonal crops, long periods without rain would have placed enormous pressure on the population. Food shortages may have become widespread, water reservoirs may have begun to dry up, and when resources become scarce, competition often follows. Evidence of conflict begins appearing in the archaeological record during this same period. Defensive walls were constructed around cities. Monuments began depicting captured enemies and violent battles between rival rulers. Some inscriptions suggest wars between powerful city-states became more frequent and more destructive. Cities that once cooperated through trade and diplomacy may have turned against each other in desperate struggles for survival. And in some locations, archaeologists have discovered evidence that entire royal dynasties simply disappeared. Rulers who once commissioned enormous monuments suddenly vanished from historical records. Temples stopped being built. Ceremonial rituals ended. Political systems collapsed. Gradually, the complex network that had held the Maya world together began to break apart. But the collapse was not identical everywhere. Some cities declined slowly. Others were abandoned almost completely. And a few managed to survive longer than the rest, which raises an even more fascinating question. If drought, environmental pressure, and warfare played a role in the collapse, why did some Maya communities survive while others disappeared? Because the truth about the fall of the Maya civilization may be far more complex than a single cause. In fact, researchers now believe the collapse may have been the result of several powerful forces happening at the same time. For a civilization already stretched to its limits, even small disruptions could have triggered a chain reaction across the entire region. And when those forces combined, they may have pushed one of the greatest civilizations in the ancient world toward a slow and irreversible decline. But the most surprising discovery about the Maya collapse is this: the Maya people themselves did not vanish. Their cities may have fallen, their kings may have disappeared, but the descendants of the Maya are still alive today. Which means the final chapter of this ancient civilization is not a story of extinction. It is a story of transformation. And understanding what truly happened during the collapse may reveal important lessons about how even the most advanced societies can face unexpected challenges. Challenges that can reshape an entire civilization. By the early 9th century, something extraordinary was happening across the Maya world. Cities that had once been filled with life were beginning to fall silent. Construction projects were suddenly abandoned. Massive temples that had taken decades to build were left unfinished. Royal monuments stopped appearing. And one by one, the great dynasties that ruled the Maya cities began to disappear from history. Archaeologists studying inscriptions discovered a striking pattern. For centuries, Maya kings had carved detailed records of their victories, ceremonies, and political alliances into stone monuments. But around the late 800s, those records simply stopped. The silence in the historical record is sudden and dramatic. One of the final dated monuments from the once powerful city of Tikal was carved in the year 869. After that, nothing. No new monuments. No new royal inscriptions. No clear evidence that the powerful ruling dynasty continued. A similar pattern appears across dozens of Maya cities. At Copan, one of the most important Maya capitals, the final monument was erected in the year 822. After that date, the royal court seems to vanish. Palaces that once housed powerful kings were abandoned. Ceremonial plazas fell quiet, and the population began to disperse. Within a few generations, many of the great urban centers of the southern Maya lowlands had been almost completely deserted. But archaeologists noticed something important. The cities themselves were not destroyed. Unlike many ancient civilizations that collapsed through conquest, there is very little evidence that a massive invading army wiped out the Maya world. Instead, the collapse appears to have been gradual. People simply left, families moved away from the great cities, communities relocated to smaller settlements. The enormous urban centers that had once dominated the jungle slowly lost their populations. As decades passed, nature began reclaiming what humans had built. Trees grew between the stones of temples. Roots pushed through palace walls. Thick vegetation covered plazas where thousands of people had once gathered for ceremonies. Eventually, the cities disappeared beneath the rainforest. For nearly 1,000 years, the jungle kept their secrets hidden. It was empty until the 19th century that explorers traveling through Central America began rediscovering these lost cities. When they first saw the towering pyramids rising above the forest, they could hardly believe what they had found. Entire civilizations had once existed here, and then vanished. But modern archaeology is now revealing something even more fascinating. The Maya people themselves never disappeared. Millions of Maya descendants still live across Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, and Honduras today. They continue to speak Maya languages, preserve ancient traditions, and maintain cultural practices that have survived for thousands of years. The collapse that ended the great jungle cities was not the end of the Maya civilization. It was a transformation, a shift from powerful urban kingdoms to smaller regional communities. But the real mystery is why that transformation happened so suddenly. Most researchers now believe the collapse was not caused by a single disaster. Instead, it may have been the result of several crises happening at the same time. Severe drought strained food and water supplies. Environmental pressure weakened agricultural systems. Wars between rival city-states destabilized political alliances. And large populations placed enormous stress on limited resources. Individually, any one of these problems might have been manageable, but together, they may have pushed the entire system beyond its limits. When that tipping point was reached, the complex network that supported the Maya world began to unravel. Cities that had thrived for centuries could no longer sustain themselves, and gradually, the great civilization of the jungle entered a new chapter of its history. Today, researchers continue exploring the forests of Central America using advanced technologies that can map ancient cities hidden beneath the trees. With every new discovery, we learn more about the Maya world and the incredible achievements of the people who built it. But the collapse of the Maya civilization also serves as a powerful reminder. Even the most advanced societies can face challenges that test their ability to adapt and survive. And sometimes, the fall of a civilization is not a single dramatic event, but a slow and complex process that unfolds over generations. A process that leaves behind silent cities in the jungle waiting for the future to uncover their story.